For ages, I've been meaning to walk you through my exact method for transforming lengthy content into those perfectly snackable viral short clips that keep the momentum going. I constantly get asked about how I repurpose long-form videos, manage the massive posting schedule, and the specific suite of tools that actually make it happen efficiently. Over the last few months, I've tested so many different solutions. Some were visually impressive but incredibly clunky, others carried a heavy price tag, and a few simply weren't designed for the sheer speed I need as a creator. So today, I want to take you through a complete project, from the raw source file all the way to the published short, to show exactly where this one tool fits into my daily process. Just a quick disclaimer, interfaces evolve, features roll out constantly, and I update things all the time, so this walkthrough is accurate to this very moment. But you should always check for the latest updates. Okay, let's jump right in by launching the application, which immediately brings me to my main dashboard. Here, I see a neat, organized list of all the projects I'm currently managing, which I can easily sort by date, by show, or even by client, making organization surprisingly simple. The very first step is always to initiate a brand new project, and the system handily auto-names it with a timestamp to prevent any naming collisions. However, because I prefer things that are easily readable later on, I immediately rename this one to something descriptive like Repurpose Test for clarity. Once inside the project space, it remains completely blank and waiting until I import the actual long-form piece I want to slice up. So next, we import a full YouTube video. The biggest, most substantial win I get from this tool revolves around its incredibly powerful automated editing feature built right in. You simply drop in a long video. It could be an hour-long stream, a detailed interview, or a product demo, and the AI instantly analyzes the entire recording to propose perfectly ready-to-post clips. When I was stuck doing this manually in the past, it involved hours just combing through footage, searching for engagement peaks, chopping, reformatting, adding captions, and then exporting every single variation. This entire tedious process is compressed down into mere minutes now, which is honestly the key to maintaining a consistent posting cadence. For this specific walkthrough, I uploaded a 25-minute recording, and Vizard immediately returned a list of suggested clips, which often numbers in the dozens. These suggestions are intelligently ranked based on a combination of audible excitement detected in the voice, camera cuts, face tracking, and relevant keyword spotting within the transcript. What I prioritize doing first is quickly skimming those suggested clips down the left side, clicking through the short previews, and picking out the ones that immediately feel like they have true viral potential. I'm specifically hunting for those moments that hit strong emotional beats, share a truly surprising fact, or maybe even contain a genuine visual gag that lands well. For instance, there was one particularly silly exchange where a guest made an off-the-cuff joke about a hamster surfing, which is obviously ridiculous, but the audience spike flagged it as a perfect 6 to 8 second clip. Once I select that segment, Vizard instantly pre-creates a vertical crop, automatically overlays captions, and even presents me with a few strong thumbnail frames to choose from right away. If I decide I need to make small tweaks, like tightening the in and out points, refining the caption wording, or swapping that automatic thumbnail, it's just one click to edit it right there, avoiding any complex timeline wrestling. I also genuinely appreciate how intelligently Vizard manages pacing and aspect ratios across different platforms simultaneously. If I need a 9:16 clip for TikTok right alongside a 1:1 version for Instagram, it generates both from the source and optimizes the framing differently, so you don't accidentally lose the main subject out of the shot. That automatic reframing feature alone is a massive time saver, because manually readjusting compositions for every aspect ratio is truly one of the most tedious parts of the job. Taking another example, there was a particularly moody segment in the middle, where a guest was walking through crunchy snow while recounting an eerie memory. Vizard flagged this specific part because of a subtle vocal inflection and an intentional pause in the audio track, signaling emotional weight. I pulled that moment into a short clip, but wanted it to feel intentionally cinematic. So I used the editor to drop in a subtle ambient background track. I also adjusted the trim right at the start so the sound of the footsteps would perfectly lead into the subject's keyline, and I toggled the caption style to something much more filmic in appearance. These are just small, nuanced edits, but when combined, they make the resulting short feel genuinely bespoke, instead of just like a generic auto-generated snippet. People frequently ask me just how hands-off this entire process can actually be, and honestly, you could let the AI handle almost everything from start to finish. You can automate the highlight detection, the thumbnail picking, the caption generation, and even the final scheduling queue if you choose to do so. However, my personal preference is to treat the AI's output as the absolute first pass, and then I inject 1 or 2 manual adjustments to ensure the voice always remains perfectly consistent with my channel's established tone. That small injection of human curation, just double-checking the output, really makes an enormous difference in the final perception of quality. Now, scheduling is the other area where this platform truly shines brighter than almost any other tool I have tested previously. After I've gathered a solid handful of clips that I am happy with, I flip over to the built-in scheduling panel, specifically the auto-schedule feature. You simply define your posting frequency and select your preferred platforms, and the system automatically queues those clips up at scientifically recommended peak engagement times. This feature alone has legitimately saved me so many hours throughout the week because I avoid the need to manually upload every single piece to every single network sequentially. Instead, I can set the batch and essentially forget about the deployment process until I need to review performance later on. If I notice a particular day looks like it will have lower organic reach based on historical data, I can easily jump into the content calendar view and drag the clips around to different slots. That calendar overview is incredibly clean because it presents the thumbnail, the caption preview, the precise publish time, and the platform status all visible in one single coherent place. When comparing this to other options out there, some competitors might auto-generate clips, but then force you to manually export and upload them across all your networks. Or they charge exorbitant fees just for basic scheduling. Other tools might nail the editing, but they completely fail at handling vertical crops or generating accurate captions automatically, which breaks the flow. The real tangible time saver here is that Vizard manages the entire pipeline: editing, formatting, captions, and scheduling, all within one unified environment. Let me show you a slightly more involved example so you can see how I iterate on a concept when the source material is rough. I had a raw clip from a live stream where I was just rambling while sketching a quick archway idea on a simple sticky note. It was a rough doodle paired with a long, unedited description. Previously, turning that into a standalone short meant either reshooting the scene or spending hours painstakingly recreating that exact visual element in another program. With this tool, I flagged the exact timestamp where I described the sketch, created the initial clip, and then performed an insert. I imported the refined, high-quality image I had already created in Photoshop, used that as the B-roll first frame, and then set a very slow, intentional push-in transition over the audio. Vizard perfectly matched the audio levels from the original voiceover, auto-captioned the explanation, and the final short ended up feeling like a polished mini-concept video from raw origins. Another incredibly useful feature is the ability to generate multiple takes of the exact same highlight, which is perfect for A/B testing different thumbnail images or caption phrasing. You simply duplicate the clip, swap out the thumbnail on one, slightly tweak the caption wording on the other, and then schedule them to run on separate days to gather real data. This rigorous A/B approach is precisely how I empirically learned which specific wording leads to a demonstrably better click-through rate for my specific audience. Let's quickly touch on audio, because I know people sometimes get confused by terms like diegetic versus non-diegetic, but controlling this distinction really matters for atmosphere. Diegetic audio is everything that exists within the scene, like footsteps, a door slamming, or the actual conversation, while non-diegetic is the background score or music that only the viewer hears to guide emotion. If I extract a tense subway scene, for example, I keep the diegetic sounds like the train rumble intact to preserve that gritty atmosphere. Then I gently blend in a soft, non-diegetic piano cue underneath to underscore the feeling. The balance between these elements is easily tweaked using simple sliders right on the clip screen, meaning you avoid getting bogged down in complex, frustrating audio routing setups. I also want to highlight how elegantly this tool handles what I call ingredient-style editing for composite clips. Sometimes I need to compose one short out of several raw assets, maybe a short animation loop, a static B-roll plate, and the absolute best soundbite from the hour-long interview, all woven together. With Vizard, I import all those necessary pieces, stack them up, and set simple timing markers, like telling it to show the static plate from 0 to 2 seconds, then cut immediately to the interview soundbite for the next 4 seconds. This means it's not some completely featureless, opaque black box. It absolutely respects my creative direction while simultaneously handling all the tedious assembly work for me. Now, to be fair, no single tool on the market is absolutely perfect for every single use case out there. I've used solutions that claim full automation but end up delivering awkward, contextually weird cuts, nonsensical captions, or thumbnails that just don't make any sense to the viewer. I've also spent time with those high-end editing suites that are prohibitively expensive and demand a steep learning curve just to get started on simple tasks. For me, the absolute sweet spot is a tool that provides an incredibly smart, usable first draft, and then lets me polish that draft very quickly without getting in the way. That precise equilibrium is exactly where Vizard consistently lands, handling the foundational grunt work with high reliability, yet never locking me into overly rigid, unchangeable templates. Let me give you a concrete day-in-the-life sequence to illustrate how I use this across a typical content creation week. I'll start by batch importing 5 long videos into one master project container, and then I let Vizard chew on all of that data and queue up the suggested clips overnight. When I get into the office the next morning, I spend about an hour just skimming the generated results, picking out the 10 most promising clips, and quickly updating their captions and thumbnails. Then, I duplicate the absolute top 3 candidates, making only very slight caption variations specifically for robust A/B testing purposes. With the auto-schedule feature active, Vizard staggers those posts across the entire upcoming week for every platform. That means TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts all get their optimal time slots. Finally, I just hop into the content calendar one last time to verify the cadence looks correct and manually move anything around if there's a conflict with scheduled long-form content. That entire process, which used to consume an entire exhausting day of editing and manual uploading, is now streamlined into about an hour of focused decision-making. One more practical tip I always give: be very mindful of exactly how the platform crops faces and critical objects, even with Smart Auto Reframing active. Occasionally, I have to nudge that automatic crop slightly to guarantee that the most important visual information doesn't get awkwardly cut off by the vertical edge. To wrap things up, here are the 3 main, non-negotiable reasons I keep Vizard firmly planted in my professional tool belt. It finds those viral moments astonishingly fast. It prepares multi-aspect ratio clips and captions for you automatically. And it schedules everything, so you don't have to babysit the uploads. When you stack that against the alternative of editing manually or trying to patch together a messy collection of different tools, this integration represents an undeniable, massive productivity leap forward. And because this whole system is genuinely engineered with the creator workflow in mind, you always maintain creative ownership. You can be totally hands-off or hands-on depending on the polish level you desire. If you are just now starting the journey of repurposing your own long-form video assets, my biggest piece of advice is not to overthink the initial steps. Let the AI handle the absolute heaviest lifting of the initial sorting, and then deliberately apply your own refined human taste to the final selection. Go ahead and try generating just a few clips, A/B test those thumbnails and captions rigorously, and then pay close attention to which specific versions start gaining real traction. And if you already have a massive backlog of old videos sitting untouched, just batch import them all at once. You will be genuinely shocked by how many hidden gems are still buried in that old footage. Please drop a comment below and let me know what kinds of videos you are looking to repurpose, whether it's interviews, deep tutorials, or live stream highlights, because I absolutely read the comments and will share specific prompt templates and caption hacks that work for me. Thank you so much for watching this detailed walkthrough, and if you do decide to give Vizard a try, definitely circle back and tell me how dramatically it ends up changing your personal workflow.